Alright, here we are for this week's track guide at Road America. First time Cup has been here, and I don't really know. I think somebody said 56 was the time they raced here. In a few people's lifetimes, it's the first time we've been here. So, keys of the race car. Number 1, tires as usual because, well, it's a road course and easy to spin up the rears, but you can also lock up the fronts. The fronts don't want to turn with a fixed set because I think it's like on the ground. I don't know. Weird feeling. And number 2, basically a corner like you just saw in the background there, if you could. It's a wet dream for dive bombers. This is like the most dive bomby place you can think of. And I guess number 3, back to more tire management. That's really all you can do. Maybe use some curbs as well. I guess I could chuck into that, third little topic. Because some curbs you can use and some of them upsets the car really badly. Or causes it to get much looser than it should be. So that's something to watch out for. And that's pretty much it for the keys to the race card. I can't think of really any more topics. So we'll go ahead and get to pit road and we'll talk about the lap. Alright, so I was searching for a good camera angle for pit road. I came across this little gem. Just look at that elevation change. Just something I forgot to mention. That's crazy. I didn't think it was that steep. I know it's steep, but I didn't think it was that much. Alright, pit road is here on the right. Really steep incline. Beyond this Chevrolet billboard, there's the yellow cones, which starts your speed limit, 45 miles per hour. I know it was tough to see. That's on me. All the way down this long pit road, your exits right here at the green cones, and you can merge pretty much after this yellow line back here, and there you go. Alright, here we are about to take our lap. Fixed setup, fixed weather. Track temp came out to 115 on this lap. Only change to the fixed set was the brake bias at a 63% and steering ratio to a 12:1. That's just my personal preference. You do you. So this lap was kind of tough and kind of doesn't really follow any of the tire management I was talking about earlier. So like usual, I'm going to go through the gears and we'll see how it's done, and I guess I'll have to explain some things. So we'll just see how it was done. We'll break it down. We should be reaching 4th gear by the time we reach a start finish. I'm already in 4th gear. And there we are for a 212.7. You can see I made some mistakes. And like I said, I threw all that tire management out the window. Now, if I sound a little different, I don't have my windscreen on, so a lot more air is getting through. Plus, things a little closer and fans on. And if it sounds different, that's why. Anyways, we're in 4th gear. At this point, we're going to make our way into turn 1. And that's when you'll notice something's a little odd with these cars. Alright, so here's what I'm doing. I'm approaching, the corner way up there. But you see this H&R billboard right here? Right? I'm kind of looking at that on the corner of my eye while still looking straight. And you'll probably see why. Once it gets out of my line of sight, which is right there, I'm getting on the brakes. And that seems to be sometimes a little under. If you don't use as much brake, you'll be a little over. So you gotta keep that in mind. So as soon as H&R is completely out of windshield, right here, see how it's not even there? Hard on the brakes. So we're gonna slow down. We're gonna downshift to 3rd, and again to 2nd. While hard on the brakes, try to maintain that threshold braking. As soon as you start to turn in, start releasing the brake, trail braking, let it roll, because this car likes to roll once you touch that curb. If you take too much of that curb, back there you can see it bounce a little bit. That's too much and it upsets the car. But you do want to clip that curb to give it rotation. So we're in 2nd gear and I'm using throttle the minute I got to the apex there. So we're going to track out, being careful not to spin the rears. That's why I'm not full throttle yet. Quite on edge. We're going to keep it in 2nd and we'll shift to 3rd. 3rd. And as we're approaching the brake zone, you see this 3 right at the edge of my windshield. As I'm passing that, I'm getting on the brakes. So about a car length before the end of this wall. Right there. Maybe it's a little more than a car length. But hard on the brakes again. Remember, I went from 3rd gear to 2nd to 3rd gear, so I'm going to go back to 2nd. And you'll see the blip happen right there. We're in 2nd gear now. Approaching the corner, again, threshold brake. Trail brake into the corner. Once you feel it rotate, let it roll. Again, touching the curb really grabs the car here, and it rotates quite a bit. Use the throttle again, center off. Careful not to spin them. Once it's pointed straight, you should be able to stand in it. 2nd to 3rd. And again, 3rd to 4th. And here's where the next brake zone is. There's a lot of these heavy ones. So I'm looking at these little number plates over here, right? You got 4, 5. As I'm passing the 5, I'm getting really hard on the brakes. So we see this portage on here, and then that. Sorry, I got stupid, I had to look at that. So as we're passing that, you see 5 portage on, hard on the brakes. Again, threshold braking while downshifting, not an easy task. You're going to go from 4th to 3rd. 3rd to 2nd. And 2nd to 1st at the way end of this brake zone. Right there, we're in 1st gear now. And I'm going to use this moment to talk about something. Before last build, I think, going to 1st gear would have been a death sentence. Just because you would have had a massive amount of wheel hop. And I mentioned something earlier in this video. That's when you'll notice something's a little odd with these cars. So I mentioned it's a little weird, right? So they did an update last build where the RPMs, it take forever to descend, and the high RPM range is down to about $4,000, and then from $4,000 down to 2,000 is about the same. But what that does is your car will not stop as well. That's why I have to use so much brake now. But it also allows me to go to 1st gear because of that difference in RPM is letting that 1st gear go into gear without a lot of wheel hop. So if you're noticing something different from last time, that was it. When I say last time, like the last road course, I don't know, big road course, so Coda, that's the difference. So keep that in mind. So again, threshold braking, we're going to trail brake into the corner. Once you get it rotated again, let it roll. In 1st gear, hit the curb, gives you a little bit of grip, center off, get on the throttle really carefully because you're in 1st gear. You're going to shift up to 2nd, right here. And in the brake zone, I'm using that, is it Bojangles? I don't know, whatever this is. I'm using that, sort of, once it comes into contact with this center bar in the windshield. I'm using that to brake. So we'll be in 2nd, going back down to 1st. I don't know, that was just an audible. I usually don't do that. Again, trail brake till it rolls. It's kind of tricky because it's an uphill, kind of tricks you into thinking you can brake later. So again, center off. We're on throttle, first gear, up to second gear. Now here I tap the brake right as I'm about to take that turn in. Just a little bit to get the front end set. Again, throttle up once you get center of the apex. Use that curb a little bit, not too much. The exit curb you kind of don't want to use because it upsets the car just a little bit. So it makes our way into this next set of corners. We're in second gear. I shifted to third right there, not sure why. I never do. Hard on the brakes once you get over that little hill. Talking like right here, where this tree ends, that light pole begins. Again, hard on the brake, third gear, down to second again. And you can go to first, but I choose not to. Threshold braking again, trail brake, let it roll. Once you get to the curb, which you do want to touch this curb because it helps rotate you and you need it. Or not, if not, you'll just push into the dirt, gravel. Again, center off, get on the throttle. We're in second gear still, use all the track. And here, going under the Speedville bridge, we're gonna, as soon as we make our right-hander, we're gonna shift to third. There's just a little technique behind that. It kind of stabilizes it a little bit, in my opinion. And you can roll a little bit longer without it scrubbing off speed. So let's play with the throttle, because it's tricky to get through here. We're in third gear. You want to use the throttle to help rotate the car, but you also gotta let off it to stabilize it, so you're constantly fighting it through this corner. And here you want to kind of use as much track as possible, but try not to use them curbs because it gets a little weird on exit. Now here in the kink, you see a 2-to-1 thing, right? Right after I pass the 2 marker, I'm on the brakes. So right here, use a little bit, trail brake a little bit to make sure you counter that less resistance now from the gearbox. Once you get to the center, throttle up. Be careful on exit. It gets really upset when you touch the curbs, but you can use them if you want. It's not going to kill you. We're in third gear going to fourth, by the way. Hard brake zone. Let me reverse that again because even I'm not sure what I'm doing here. You're kind of aiming right there. Treat this as basically a separate corner. So this is like an apex right where my mouse is. I'll put an arrow there. We're aiming at that, but it's kind of tricky. I can't really figure out a guideline for braking here. So I'm aiming for that. I guess what you would use if it's dead center with your screen. Get on the brakes because you're probably too far already. Right here. So just take a look at that because I'm kind of studying this along with you because I have no fucking clue where I'm braking. So hard on the brakes, fourth gear, down to third, down to second. I think, there you go. We start to turn in right at the 1 marker, which is right there. Well, next to me right now, but you can see same thing, trail brake, let it roll into the center if you can. I underdrove this a little bit. Overdrove it, I meant. Use throttle on exit, use all the available curbing, even though it could upset the car later in a run. We're still in second gear. Another tap of the brake to set it up for this left-hander. Again, get as close to the curb without hitting it. And on exit, once you throttle up, be careful not to hit the exit of the curb with the front of your car. Like if your right front wheel touches that, it's going to bounce. It's going to bottom out as well on the other side. It's going to be weird, and you're going to hate it. But you can run over with the rear, if you know how to slide it out in time, I guess. Still second gear. We're going to get right to this vehicles for life thing, right? Hard braking. Still in second gear. We're going to leave it there. We're going to track out a little bit. Once we get to about here, we're going to make our turn to the right, because it's kind of one of those, what do you call it, decreasing radius corners. Again, center, touch the curb, get on the throttle, use all the curb here. Gets a little on edge as you can see. And there you go, second to third, and third to fourth, right? As for crossing the line. And there's your 2:12.7. Alright, that was probably a long one, but I kind of had to go into some details about a lot of things. So, you know, the usual generic YouTube outro nonsense. Leave a like, which was just gross to say. I don't know why, because I don't like asking for crap like that. But it lets me know if it's helpful, and I can keep making these.